Hello everybody and welcome back to WoW Mods, and as promised, like I said last week, I'm here and you will now be able to download this particular mod, which will add the Cataclysm version of Lordaeron to Wrath of the Lich King. It will only work for Wrath of the Lich King. As always, I'm not responsible for anything that happens, so use at your own peril and discretion. The link should be in the description down below. So, after having said that, the question is, well, what else can I actually show you with this video, and not just have it be a place where you can just download. I think one of the things that I'd like to go over is sort of look at the area and think about how it could potentially be modded. Now, one of the things that you have to understand is I've gone around, I've looked at it, I've tried to figure out exactly what's going on with the model itself. It's still crashing and Nogget. I think the only way that I'll actually be able to do anything with it will be to learn a little bit of Blender and import it and hopefully export it again in Wrath of the Lich King format, and maybe then it'll work. I don't know how to do any of that. So if there's any of you out there who know how to work with Blender and would like to volunteer the task of taking the files from this patch, importing them into Blender and exporting them, I'd love your help. Contact me. Write in the comment section down below if you're interested in collaborating with me, and we'll talk and we'll make it happen. Right. So now, if I did have the ability to mod this, what would I do? Okay. Well, one of the things that we were discussing and a lot of you were talking about last time was that there should be two versions of the top side of Undercity for Wrath of the Lich King version. One should be sort of an undead / forsaken built area of the city, and I think that's what I want to take a look at right now and sort of think about. Now, the ruins are pretty cool and pretty interesting. Obviously, there are certain areas that would require rebuilding, like we'd have to retexture all of this, maybe possibly consider the placement of the trees in a different way. And think about like areas like this. This is obviously an area that could potentially be used as a market space. So potentially have some NPCs here, some vendors, some specialized items, and all the definitive like doodads. Some of the things that I would be more interested in doing would be sort of thinking about perhaps not these cloisters. This could potentially be sort of like training grounds. This area here could potentially hold a tent city, maybe some tents, maybe some different type of how should I call it? Sort of like staging grounds, potentially, that Horde players might want. These obviously areas next to the palace structure itself, of course, could be gardens. This area here definitely has to be if not a garden, definitely a cemetery. Perhaps in the living version it would be a garden. And then we have the back. Now, the back is a very large section, and I would very much like to put in more buildings. So I would like to put in some houses, I'd like to put in some 2-story buildings, perhaps something that I might find. I have some different human buildings that I haven't used again, and modify them and potentially put them here and just extend the city in this way. Possibly some houses, 2-story buildings there, builds probably like some sort of center. I don't know if I'd use the Wrath of the Lich King Forsaken buildings. I might, but you never know. That's sort of like the type of thing that you have to wait for after sort of like placing it and looking at it. So it's too soon to tell whether or not I would do that. Another thing that is curious about this is that there's actually no access points from here to that side, so we would definitely have to figure out if I had to bring it into Blender and re-export. Potentially I might edit and remove this door if that's something simple enough for me to do. I have some experience making 3D models, very simple 3D models, mainly for the work that I did on Warcraft 3. So I'm pretty sure I could probably figure out how to remove this door and that way enable a path that away. I don't know if I could potentially do the same here. I don't know if this door becomes this one. I don't think so because the doors seem to be of a different size. But anything's possible. We could see if that's the case and see if we can open that side so that we definitely have access to the rest of the city on those sides. This area here, of course, I think that taking some inspiration from the live versions or the versions that were available even up to BFA, is that we probably might have like some plague manufacturing components here, maybe some plague trucks, some barrels, whatnot, potentially more tents, and I don't know, like another sort of like interesting inspiration could be potentially having like a Sylvanas statue here in the middle, having like this be some sort of like training grounds with like dummies and Forsaken troops training here. It's tough to say, you know. There's a lot of things that can be done, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. That is, if it is at all possible and within my scope. So once again, let me repeat myself before I call it for this video, and that is that if you have some experience with Blender, or if you are a modder and you'd like to collaborate, please write in the comment section down below. I always tend to read the comment sections, and I always try and answer everyone, at least when I see the messages coming in. So if you know how to do some of that work, contact me. You want to help me out, help me make this be a possibility for everybody else, and that's one of the things that I'd like to do. If I can do that, that upgraded version is going to be up for download as well. So I think it's going to behoove all of us in the community that we get this done. So until then, everybody, I hope you enjoy the download, and till next week. So until then, everybody, bye-bye.